This was not a vacation. It was the start of a brand new chapter. I sold everything and moved from the US to Nigeria with a toddler in tow. Here is how it all unfolded. So, yeah, my middle name might be Adventure, but yes, this is my precious little boy. He was about one or so in these photos. But we had him in Houston, Texas. Actually, I had him in Maryland, moved to Houston, Texas, and decided after that, you know what? We need to focus on moving back to Nigeria. His dad was living with us in Houston. We were in Houston because his parents were also in Houston. But we just, after some point, we met in Nigeria. Our goal was always to live in Nigeria and raise our son in Nigeria. So we celebrated a few milestones in America and then decided, okay, the dad went to Nigeria a few months earlier, moved, and we were going to come a few months after he left. So we waited for OC, my son's name is OC, to turn 2, and then we were able to start packing and move to Nigeria. Before that, we made sure we enjoyed everything, okay? We enjoyed the pool. I enjoyed hanging out with my son in America and doing all the things. Like, he went everywhere, did everything, and we really enjoyed the time we were there. He eventually finally turned 2, my big precious boy. And so after he turned 2, it was like, okay, let's do it. So this boy had the best birthday, and I started making signs. I said, you know what? Everything must go. So I put everything together, put ads on Facebook, and as you can see, I put everything neatly and just sold everything. A lot of stuff I had to give away, but it was actually a wonderful and miraculous adventure because people were showing up that needed exactly what I had. And I love this photo. It reminded me of me and OC, and someone took it. And this is where I thought I was going to take all this to Nigeria. No, I had to cut it in half. So at the end, as you can see, everything was done. My whole apartment was packed up. I actually still did not get my security deposit back from the deposit that I put in Houston, which made me feel better about being in Nigeria because it just made me realize and remember that not everything is perfect in America either. So this is what I eventually took to Nigeria after packing up this entire house by myself with no car. And that's a different story because this apartment, the month I moved in, my car was towed from this place. And that's actually a miracle story on its own because we had moved so much before finally landing here and really needed the car before moving here. So it all worked out. And anyway, we decided to finally move. And the plan was to go straight to Abuja. That actually never happened because we missed that flight. These people had the audacity to try to charge me an extra $5,000. I said no. So I went ahead and rebooked us to go to Lagos. It was an extra $200 each per person. And we had a layover in Maryland, which was awesome because I got to spend time with one of my favorite cousins, Ike, who actually passed away 2 months after this. So it was genuinely a divine experience to have OC hang out with his uncle one last time. So he dropped us back at the airport, and we eventually began our journey to Nigeria. It was actually a smooth trip. I made sure we got certain things like pizza that I know OC eats, and I got my beer, and then we got on the plane. And honestly, my goal on the plane was just to keep him busy until we took off. So I gave him more pizza. I let him play with the TV. He got to select some shows, and it was really cool. He literally went to sleep immediately. The plane took off. They gave me some weird looking food, and it was all right. But my son, like I said, fell asleep right when we took off, and I just enjoyed myself watching my shows and just trying to take deep breaths because I wasn't planning on going to Lagos. Remember, we were planning on going to Abuja. So I spent a lot of the time figuring out where we were gonna stay when I landed in Lagos. So we enjoyed the flight, and I was so grateful to finally be getting out of America, finally be landing in Nigeria. And so it was just a very peaceful, safe journey, and I'm so glad that everything went smoothly. And eventually, we landed in Nigeria. So OC was just happy, man. He was wearing his little Texas shirt on the little carts, and we had to get his visa because, yes, he's an American citizen with dual citizen parents. So once we did that, yes, this is how I looked, okay? Like a hot mess. This is how I looked landing in Nigeria. I was just like, look, y'all happy and lucky I'm here, okay? And then we were able to go into our nice hotel that I booked on the airplane, and it was nice. They played with OC, gave him some pens, and helped him just chill while I was doing everything else you have to do in Nigeria. Okay, a lot of paperwork, a lot of just getting it together, changing of naira to money, and their breakfast was all right. They had hot dogs and eggs and bread, and I ate. OC ate. He is such a happy boy, so he was just giggling with the different staff and playing with them. What I loved is OC got to try different Nigerian foods like akara, which he definitely enjoyed and still eats to this day. I was able to also get my favorite food at the time, which is suya, street meat with something I still don't even know what that is, some light thing. It was all just delicious. Okay, I was like, I'm in Nigeria. Nom, nom, nom. So before going to the next phase of our trip, I said, let's go to the beach since we're in Lagos. So we decided to go to the island, which was a very cool journey from the mainland of Lagos. And while I was at the beach just playing with my son, I had a few epiphanies. Initially we were planning on going to Abuja and meeting up with OC's dad. But right before our trip to Nigeria, my dad, who had no idea that we were coming to Nigeria, sent a message to my family chat and said, which of my children is moving back to Anambra, which is where we are all from? Which of my children is moving back? He was just saying he's building this house for us, and all of us are in America, and he's just wondering what's the point? Who's moving back? So what I've typically done in the past when I come to Lagos is I take a road trip from Lagos to Anambra. And it just seems so divine, right? That all of a sudden we missed our flight to Abuja. We were in Lagos, and my dad's wondering who's coming home. I felt like if I went to Abuja now, I would get settled in Abuja. And then would I really be coming to the East? Would I really be coming to Anambra? Like that. Maybe I'd come once in a while to visit my dad, but it wouldn't be a real duality like I wanted. I truly wanted to say I came home to Nigeria, and came home as in I was able to come back to my fatherland, which is Anambra, and then also enjoy the best Nigeria has to offer, which sometimes is in the bigger cities. So I said, you know what, let's pack our stuff and let's take a road trip to Anambra State. And that's what we did. It was 6, 7 hours, and it was so awesome because we were free, man. You don't see me just relaxing and chilling in this big old Sienna by ourselves. All of our luggages were tucked in the back, and we just enjoyed the ride. It was such a nice experience. And most people really have many negative things to say about taking a road trip in Nigeria from state to state. And typically, this is how I've traveled. I don't like flying domestically. So we were able to rent a Sienna and just me and OC alone enjoyed this trip. It was, like I said, 7 hours of us being in this vehicle and seeing the sights. We got to stop and get some different things. OC was just chilling. He slept sometimes, was on his phone sometimes. All I know is we just had a nice, peaceful adventure from Lagos State to Anambra State. We passed about 3 or 4 states on the way, and I made sure to point out the different places that we were. So it was a really peaceful journey, and I'm so glad that we eventually took this trip. And if we hadn't missed our flight, we wouldn't be on this journey. So we stopped, like I said, many times, got different things. This is an egg ball, and I was so excited to get back to Nigeria for the different foods. I also got okpa, which is my favorite food, and this meat thing I got. I don't even remember what it's called. All I know it was good, and I ate it. So my son, like I said, slept a lot, and then before you knew it, we were almost to Anambra. I think we passed Enugu and a few other states, and then we finally made it to Anambra State. And then here comes the whole journey of, okay, wait, where are we going to stay in Anambra? What's going to happen? So I spent time in the car looking for hotels in Anambra. Like, this is like on the go booking stuff. That's what I was doing, okay? On the go, like, okay, shoot, we're going to Anambra. Where are we going to stay? So I was able to, in the vehicle, find this hotel, and the driver took us straight to the hotel. We checked in, and it was a beautiful hotel. We enjoyed our stay. We eventually had to leave this place because they were stealing from me. But ultimately, it was a very good landing place. We eventually stayed in this place for over a month, and I'll tell you why in a later video. But this is a tour of our room in Anambra. Like it was beautiful. I was just so excited to be in Anambra and be happy because I just felt like, okay, I don't want to be in a dusty, crusty place. And that's really just not what Anambra was. I was so happy to see the beautiful homes, and I've been in Anambra before, obviously, but as an adult with a baby, I want light 24/7. I need AC. I need a fridge. I need all these things just working for my good. And we were able to just get different foods, went to the grocery store, got some bread, got some snacks. I got my beers, and I got OC the things that he was eating on. So this was the journey from America to Nigeria. I mean, it was a lot of different unexpected twists and turns, but I love following my spirit. And I feel like that's eventually just literally what I did. Just moment by moment, okay, what are we doing now? What are we going to do? Like just figuring it out. And by the way, this hotel room that I got, it was a suite. So we had a whole bedroom, and then we had a whole living room with two different bathrooms, and I don't believe it was more than $20 a month, $20 a night per stay here. Because Anambra is significantly cheaper than obviously Abuja and Lagos. So I was giving a tour of this place because people like to see what they like to see, especially the bathroom, and make sure things are clean and crisp. And it was here. So let me just finish giving you this tour of this room. I recommend the hotel, but I think if you're going to stay there, make sure you guard your property with your life. Okay, so now that we're in Anambra, what are we doing, right? So the plan for me was to get a two-bedroom somewhere in Anambra that I just have close to my dad because, my dad was still building the home he had for us, and his own personal home is good, but, he is living in that kind of no AC, no light life, and especially with a toddler, I can't. I need to have light, I need to have AC, I need to have running water, all the things. And like that's what my hotel did, as you can see. My hotel had everything. This hotel sink didn't really run very well, but the other sink ran well. So it was just a very cool hotel, and it was just a very good way to land in Anambra and have peace. So the plan now was to look for an apartment, so we just stocked up our fridge a little bit with some food and spent actually the first 2 weeks just getting comfortable in the land, touring the city, and just meeting different people and just relaxing, recovering from the journey and just taking it day by day. So we eventually just took time to get ready and go see the town. And this is how we were dressing. Okay, I was like incognito, which please, everyone was staring at him like, who is this man with this outfit on and these glasses and this hat? And OC's already this big personality, so people were really just looking at him, and then they heard accent, and then it's like this whole thing. So we enjoyed our first few weeks in Nigeria, and um, it was just such a cool experience to take it day by day because sometimes when you over plan, then you over miss. So I feel like we got to see and do all the things. And so I just made sure OC looked cute. I made sure I looked better than the day before. And so, we made sure we took our daily photos. And it was so funny because we finally took a KK. And OC was looking around like, what and who and huh? What is all this? It was just so funny to see his face because he was not used to this kind of life. Now he's like cat, like he knows how to call them by himself. But it was such a cool first few days of him like, what in the world is going on? So we got to see Abakaliki Street, which is a part of Aka that comes alive at night, and it was just such a fun experience to go through in a keke and get some fish and see how things really were. And then I hired someone to come to my apartment and do my hair because, yes, I was looking a hot mess and now I look 10 times better, right? So now that I look better, my baby is settled, it was time to go apartment hunting. So stay tuned for that video. And if you have any questions about anything, I'd love to hear them in the comment section of the video. Thank you so much for watching. And how do you think my hair came out? This is called home service, where they come to your house and you pay them. I think I paid maybe like $15, and then they brought the hair and did it.
If this video found you at the right time, and maybe it's not a coincidence, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep growing through this journey together.